Hello and welcome to the weekly Shakeout of Paula's Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me with a fresh haircut, Christopher Thompson.
And we are with a fresh sponsor as well. Remember, we still have that sponsorship running. Very big thank you to HIGH5. Basically, great tasting hydration and energy from electrolytes to energy gels, whether it's a 5K all the way up to an ultra or whatever you want to do. They've got you covered energy-wise, and thank you very much for that. So a reminder that for the HIGH5 goodies, you can head with that discount code Paula25 to high5.co.uk, and we are ready to crack on with some more of your questions, are we, Tomo? Do you want to kick off?
Yeah, excited. It's always fun doing this, isn't it? Just trying to support people with direct questions. So this first one comes in from Sarah. Hi, both. Absolutely loving the podcast. Thank you very much. Would you have any advice for my 12-year-old daughter in how to control her nerves before her races? She's a good all-rounder, but 1500 metres is her best event, and she often wins local and regional events in the 15. But she started getting very panicky and tearful before each race now, and says she feels a bit stressed before the 15. I think the weight of expectation is making her really nervous. I've never really pushed her into competing. It's very self-driven. She loves athletics and competes happily in other events, but the 15 happens to be where she does best. I reassured her that I just want her to have fun, and it doesn't feel like fun. If it doesn't feel like fun, then it's fine to stop, and she definitely doesn't want to stop. And after the race, we'll say how much she loved it. It's so hard to watching her panic before these races. Any ideas how she can control her big pre-race feelings? Thanks, Maggie. I think that's. Do you want to tackle that first? I mean, I'm. She's not. Yeah. She won't be alone for certain.
No,
not
what
were
at
you
all.
like?
I actually, listening to you read that out, I can clearly remember. I must have been about 13, 14. My dad drove me up to Mansfield to do the cross country. It was basically north versus south versus Midlands, and we kind of got a red vest to represent the south and go and represent them there. And it was a big deal. And I can remember being so nervous that I almost made myself sick. And my dad, for the only time ever, turned around to me and said, I'm not doing this. I'm not bringing you to races if you're not going to enjoy them and if you're going to make yourself ill. It's meant to be fun, exactly as the lady's saying there. And I guess the kind of penny dropped after that, and I learned to control it. And so I think what Maggie's saying is absolutely right. I think particularly when you're young and you're getting into something that you really enjoy doing, her daughter really, really wants to perform well in the race. So she is putting everything into it, and it's almost just tipping over. And I think what you need to do is recognize that for nerves mean that it matters to you. And they mean that your performance matters to you. It's a race that's important to you. They're helping you to get the best out of yourself. But if they tip over too much, they become detrimental, and they start to make you feel panicky, start to make you feel sick, and then they take away from your performance. So it's basically a learning experience like everything else in this sport. And I think it's recognizing the point at which they're getting too much and finding something that you can do just to bring it down a bit. And I guess I started reading in the build up towards, because I found that the nerves got too much as I was building towards the event. Once I was warming up, once I was doing something to channel that energy, then I was able to bring them under control. It was the hanging around in the car, traveling to the event, or the night before that it started to kind of get too much. My mind was getting a bit too ahead of my body in terms of what I wanted to get out of the race. So I would just advise for your daughter, Maggie, just to find something to use that energy in a different way to kind of bring those nerves down a little bit. It might be just listening to music. It might be going for a little bit of a walk. It might be for a jog. It might be taking the dog out. It might be anything in the build up to that just helps to bring down those nerves a little bit, and basically just learning what works for you. What do you think, Tomo?
No. Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I think the point, for me, 2 points being to expand on that is being nervous as a youngster, especially around running, is because it's such an isolated, accountable thing to do with just yourself. Once the gun goes, it's just you. And I think that's quite overwhelming, especially when you're getting into it. And so I think it's absolutely normal. I can recount stories of crying on a start line of a race because I felt so overwhelmed and nervous. And it is I don't want to say rite of passage quite so brutally, but there is a learning process exactly as you're saying. I think to give, so I don't repeat you too much, I would say that for me, understanding what's causing the nerves would be a useful thing to do to then because you need, it's not about not being nervous, it's about working with the reasons why you're getting nervous. So for me, when I was young, a lot of the reasons why I got nervous was because I'd get nervous around the pain of what I was about to do. Or, and like when you mentioned your daughter getting ready for a 15, I got anxious about a 15 because I felt like as soon as the gun went, I had to be on it. Whereas when I did longer distances, I felt like I could warm up into it. So shorter races made me feel more nervous because I had to go on the, to use Linford's line, be of the bang, it felt like. And so that built a lot of anxiety. And I think what I did was I took myself to a place in my head, a sort of a happy place. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I could feel a difference when I warmed up for a relay race rather than like a track race or a cross country. And it was the relay races where I felt part of a team, and it wasn't us all going. We were going at staggered starts, and the Southern Road Race, National Road Race, almost my happy place. I didn't get as nervous warming up for that. So if I did these races where I felt nervous, I would just think about the times when I wasn't nervous in these other scenarios. And in training, the same thing. Sometimes I'd get a bit anxious about the session I was about to do, so I would sometimes just do a session I loved, and it just brought me back to neutral. So it sounds weird, but one of the things I used to love was just going out and running hard for 10-15 minutes and just not having reps, and it just made me happy just to run as hard as I could for 10-15 minutes, and it just brought me back to neutral. So I think, to summarize, I think it's not about not being nervous, it's about understanding the reason why, what the mechanism is, and then think of another one. Was for me was visualization at university. I hated the Loughborough track, so I used to visualize the Aldershot track to just help calm me. That sounds, again, it's all a personal journey. Track. No, I do now, but at the time when I first went there, I think it was the overwhelmingness of going to university. I was suddenly on my own, I was cooking for myself, there's all these different things, and I was just looking for a piece of home. And I literally would be running on the backstraight of Loughborough track, visualising the backstraight of the Aldershot military track. Literally just all the little things on the ground, like the little mark. You know how you run in the track and you remember that bit of dirt that's in lane 3 on the 200 marker, and just I would just make myself feel like I was there, just to make myself feel at home. So there's a lot there, but you're absolutely right. Work with it, and you're not alone. And just whatever brings out the best in you is the right way to go about it.
Yeah. And just remember that those nerves mean you're going to race well, and just keep reminding yourself it's fun as well. I think that's important. Just keep going, okay, if this is meant to be fun, I'm going to enjoy it. And carry on. Right, we've got a little bit of a more light-hearted one. Now this one, well, a bit more practical, should we say. And this one comes in, it's short and to the point. How do you cope, and what else can you try when you've tried absolutely everything, but you're still getting a black and sore toenail on your 4th toe? And this person is running a marathon in April, so needs help quickly, please. What do you think, Tomo? Shoe size?
I think that the thing is that it will be caused by something. So, there'll be a solution somewhere. And I think always the first point of call is going to be, you're going to be looking at the shoe in terms of the toe cap kind of room. There are now quite a few shoes of the same iteration, but in a wider fit version. There's quite a few of them around. So that's worth looking at. But quite often, if it's not being squashed and rubbed that way, and it's more the length, it's more the toe hitting the front of the shoe as it hits the ground. There's 2 things to that. One is the sock making you slip, so you're slipping forward into the front of the shoe, or is the shoe too small? Because generally speaking, I don't know about you, Paula, but I tend to go roughly about kind of a thumbnail length beyond. Does that make sense? So in terms of it's a good. I don't hesitate. I'm showing the YouTubers the length of my toenail, but I try to look at about a fingernail gap between the front of the shoe, the toe cap.
But that's from the front of your big toe, right?
But it kind of, because the shoe's kind of go in a leaning fashion. It generally is the gap across.
Shoes do vary though, don't they? So perhaps it might be worth trying a different type of shoe, a different brand of shoe, and seeing if it's a wider toe box.
Yeah.
Because it may be that
Yeah,
you've
but
got a
because the
longer
front.
fourth and fifth toe. So it's a kind of, do you see what I mean? So
Ah, yeah.
it's just hitting the front of the
Yes,
shoe
yes.
because of the way it's angled. So if you change the angle of the shoe and mess around with training shoes, you might find one that's a little bit more comfortable for that fourth toe.
Yes. So effectively, it's the longest toe you have is the where you want to measure the gap, basically. Because I know a lot of, I don't know if you've, because Sally Kipyego, shout out to her, who was our Kenyan-born teammate when I lived in America, and she Olympic medalist, and she had her second toe next to her big toe was her longest toe, and it's a sign of talent apparently that which I don't have. I don't know if you have it, Paula, but my second toe is definitely the longest, so I don't pass the toenail talent test. But do you have that?
I do, but it's largely because of my bunion. So because I think the
so you cheated.
big toe would be bigger, but because it's angled in,
Okay. But the
it's
other
gone a
thing
little shorter.
The other thing I noticed with shoes is sometimes the kind of, some shoes can put like almost like a sort of a leather piece, not literally leather, but a harder layer around the toe cap before you hit the fabric. And some shoes it's just fabric all the way to the that attaches into the rubber or the sole of the shoe, and so the firmness of the toe cap can make a difference. And that happened to me once. I got a black toe because effectively the toe cap kind of came over the top of my toes. Does that make sense? So it's almost like the toenails were catching where the leather and the fabric kind of met. So just looking at how the makeup of the shoe could be a thing. So there would be other things. You had a good suggestion yesterday when we spoke about this as well, about how to cover your toes.
Oh yeah, the little gel caps. So
Yes.
you can get like little, basically, I don't know how to explain them, like little gel helmets for your toes that you just kind of slide over. So it's
not
like
the word
a
you
cover,
used yesterday,
like a
but-
thimble, yeah. Like a thimble to go over your toe, and it can just support it and protect it a little bit.
Yeah, because have you ever? I know I've done this for other parts of my feet, but I've never thought about this. Have you ever put Vaseline around your toes just to give them a bit of movement? And is that something you've ever done?
I actually have a cream that from Aquilin here in France that you can get that's called NOK, N-O-K, and it's basically an anti-friction cream. So I used to cover my feet in that before the start of a marathon.
Well, I've never used it, but I'm not going to knock it.
Very good. Very good. Right, moving on.
Dad jokes, sorry. Oh, dear. That's one for producer Sharky. Right, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's good. The only one last one would be how firm you tie your shoelace would be another one for me. Just
stop your
sometimes that
feet
can have an
moving around.
impact. Exactly, yeah. But I think there will be a solution in there, but hopefully one of them will help ease the situation. Okay, this next one comes in from Phil. Hello, Paul and Tomo. First of all, massive thank you for the pod. It's been a constant and comforting voice throughout my first year running marathons. Well, congratulations on your first year running marathons. That's good news. I ran my first marathon in London in April and quite frankly made a pig's ear of it. Well, yeah, a lot of people struggled that day with the heat, but the fact you did it is the big thing. I took no notice of the insane heat, and I completely ignored all the advice I'd listened to multiple times on the pod when it comes to going off too fast and set off like a loony. So by the halfway point, the wheels well and truly came off, and what I'd hoped to be 3:45 ended up being 4:27. The day after the Heartbreaker London, I got myself a place in Berlin Marathon to try and make amends. Once again, the weather gods decided they didn't want me to have a nice time and ended up giving an even hotter than London, peaking at 27 degrees. I didn't realise it was that hot in Berlin, actually. I knew it was hot. I didn't realise it was that hot. But with the lessons learnt and the goal lowered, I went about trying to get sub 4 hours monkey off my back, which I successfully did with a time of 3 hours 56. Fantastic. Congratulations.
Well
with
done.
the added bonus of running negative splits. Even better. This is what we love about learning and doing and all those kind of lessons. Fantastic. Sorry, there is a question with all this. Just wanted to add the context. My plan was to run the first half slightly under 5:40 per k, which is the threshold for 4 hour marathon, and then tried to knock a bit off in the second half. In my head, this is exactly what I was doing, sticking around the 5:37 per k area, thinking this was comfortably inside. When I got to halfway, I realised I'd actually gone the first half in just over 2 hours, and not being a mathematician, I couldn't get my head around it, being that my average on the watch was under 5:40. Anyway, I managed to put a strong second half together and make it irrelevant, but I still couldn't work out until today when the penny dropped. It's because I'd run 7k more than a marathon. This is probably isn't a
Point
problem with you
seven, isn't
guys.
it?
Sorry, yeah,
I think
0.7. Yeah, I mean, that's important because it's 7k. Well done.
it would have
yeah,
been flying if you'd run 7k more.
I'd run 0.7k more than a marathon. This probably isn't a problem you guys have up the front when you can stick to the blue line on the course. But when you with the masses, it's just impossible to stick to that line with all the congestion. Meaning most of us run a good bit more than the 42.2. So my question is, how the hell do we account for that when setting on a game plan? I have to go again and hopefully get a nice cool day to get the time I think I can achieve. But now my head is a mess trying to work out how to stay on track. Sorry, that was a long one. Feel free to edit. Yeah, no worries, Phil. Do you want to tackle that first, Paula?
Yeah, I mean, first thing I would say is also remember that it probably took you a little bit of time, Phil, to get over the start line. So that also factored into your first half, because you're standing back in the corrals and then they start the running clock, which is from the people right at the front. So yes, you might have run a little bit further than the blue line. Everybody does that. Even the blue line is further than a marathon, if that makes sense as well, because it has to cover itself. So there is a certain distance that every marathon has to be that is longer. And so I would just really focus on, as you are doing, running your splits, trying to stick to that. Give yourself a little bit of margin in there as well. And I think you were absolutely right. You're bang on. The watch is also not going to be 100% accurate. So they are all just guidelines. And that's why we say kind of train and give yourself that buffer. When you're running on the course, they have it measured right. So you are running a marathon when you're around that course. Exactly. So if you're on the course going through halfway on your target time, that's the one you need to be looking at rather than your watch. The watch can vary a little bit, can be a little bit inaccurate at times. They will have measured it perfectly right. So stick to that one. And I think phenomenal learning experience, as you said, Tomo, from Phil there, picking up on the mistakes that he made in the heat of London, not making those mistakes and going much, much better in Berlin because of the lessons learned. So just again, learning experience. Every time we do it, we learn something.
Yeah. I think having now done a few races with the masses now since I've retired, which has been, again, it is a very different experience. And he's right, for elites, it's a very much a clear road. The process is very much kind of, it's almost like going through security with Speedy Pass, which I understand and I get. And I think something that was said to me, I want to shout out to the late Sam Hockian, one of my good friends, and I grew up racing with, and he used to run cross countries phenomenally well, and he won a English schools race by over a minute in really muddy conditions, and I just couldn't understand how he managed to win by so much. And I said to him after the race, how on earth did you just do that? And he said, Tomo, I just ran hard when I could run hard, and when the course was too hard and tough, I just stopped working against the course and I just took it easier. So I picked the moments I could run hard and relaxed in the moments I couldn't. And I always remember that, thinking it's the same for any race you're doing. When the situation, especially in the first half an hour of a marathon, when it's that congested, trying to fight or overuse energy to find space is not going to end up being a good thing in the long run. So I think the advice I would say is just when you have clear space and you can run a bit more aggressively, do it. And when you can't, don't get frustrated and just relax, and don't worry about trying to get the optimum line, try and get the ultimate kind of effort. And so I think trying to be as relaxed as you can when it is that congested, and know that there will be moments you can run a bit harder and there's other bits you just need to be a bit more relaxed, will serve you well. Because it's like, to use lack of a better language, when you invest money and in it and you're in it for the long run, you're looking at what 20 years of investment is, not 1 or 2 years of investment. It's like with a marathon. Don't worry about the first 30 minutes of the investment. See it as a whole big piece of investment in yourself and your energy. And you only have so much energy to expend. And it's pick the right moment to invest that energy and hold it back when it's not sensible to overuse it. Hopefully I've explained that right.
No, definitely,
I love my
definitely.
analogies. Anyone that works with me knows I like my analogies.
And I'm sure Phil will put that to good use. But yeah, main thing, just concentrate on running your race, expend as little energy as possible, and keep learning from the experiences and keep improving as you are doing. Right, the next one comes in from Matt in Frodsham. Actually, Frodsham was where my first athletics club was. I was a member of Frodsham Harriers, and this has come in on the WhatsApp. Hi, Paula and Chris. Love listening to the pod. Hope you can help me out with my next marathon challenge. I've run quite a few flat marathons with a PB of just under 3:10. Well done. But in 3 weeks' time, I'm going to be racing the Erie Marathon, used to be known as the Snowdonia Marathon. Whilst it is mostly a road marathon, it's fair to say it's not a flat route with about 900 metres of elevation over the course. And he's put the course map in, and it is a huge big climb right at the end as well, which makes it even tougher. So basically saying, I know that I won't be getting a time in line with my PB, but I would like to be within 15 to 20 minutes of my flat marathon best. Training has gone really well, and I've made sure I include climbs and descents in my running. Brilliant. But nothing on the scale that I'll have on race day. How can I make sure I spread my effort out evenly across the race without being so cautious that I feel I've got something left on the table at the end? Wow. Well, I think that's a really good question. What do you advise, Tomo?
I think with the answer to this is you're probably in a better position with your cross country background to answer this. But for me, when it came to hilly races, I worried less about how I felt on the uphills and more worried about how I felt once I got to the bottom of the other side. And so if it's never going to be easy running up a hill, regardless of whether you're fresh or not. And so I kind of saw the uphills as just that moment in time where I just have to concentrate and not feel great. And then when I got to the top, if I could effectively come off the top of it and try and feel like I've got my legs back as soon as possible, that was my way of gauging, hang on, I'm on top of the pace of how hard I went up that hill. So I don't know if that makes sense, but in my own world it does. It kind of like I more gauged how I came off the hill than necessarily how I felt going up the hill. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what you're basically trying to do, particularly within a race, is you get to the bottom of the hill. I'm not saying look right up at the top, but have an idea of how long that hill is. And run at a pace that you know that you can maintain to the top of that hill. So it's not about maintaining the same pace that you would on the flat or trying to push on harder. It's just about trying to get to the top of that hill feeling strongly. And then we've talked before about that technique of many people, particularly in a marathon, when they're running up a big hill, they'll get to the top of the hill and they'll think, okay, haven't I done well? I can have a little bit of a breather now, get my breath back, get back on top of things and gather myself again, and then to kind of start running quickly again. Whereas actually, if you're looking at the profile that Matt has sent in, it gets to the top and then goes downhill. It flattens out for a little bit on one of them, but the couple of them, they get to the top and then go immediately down again. You can recover quite well on downhill, particularly if you've practiced that technique in training. So my advice would be to practice running comfortably downhill, so not running really hard, but running at a good pace whereby you can still recover as well and kind of let your legs recover from the hard work that you've put in uphill. So kind of think about it mentally as a little bit of a roller coaster. So you're working hard, it's meant to be hard because you're going to get a little bit of an easier respite to be able to recover and build up again. And do absolutely gauge your pace according to the terrain and that event, not comparing it to previous marathons, because it is going to be completely different. You might surprise yourself and in the end up coming out closer to your flat best. You obviously are not going to beat your flat best, but you might get closer to it than you think if you go into it anticipating the hills, anticipating that you're going to be slowing down up them, but then running a little bit quicker down them as well, and using those downhills as recovery. And enjoy the views as well.
Yeah. you've got to. There is a skill to running up a hill, even if you're only, I don't know, whatever length of race it is, and you've still got another 10k, but feeling like you're in the last k of the race, even though you've got another 10k to go, and trusting that you will recover once you get to the top, and you're not going to feel like this for the whole race. So then there is an element of just letting go and just treating that hill as that one moment. But judging how you come off a hill or how you recover is the key to gauging effort.
Yeah.
The better you've gauged it, the quicker you'll get your legs back under you once you get to the top and once you can run off it. Which is another reason why tactically elites, I know you did this really well, Paula, is you get to the top of a hill and you'd almost treat the hill as 200 meters beyond the top, because you're trying to catch that moment where athletes are trying to recover. And actually, if you can trust, just elites will trust themselves that even though they're running off the top of it, there's still an element of recovery happening. You're just going to drag it out to get that gap, and it's a real skill. And it is the art. The ultimate art of hills is the one who lets go the most of that perceived limitation in that one moment will come out on top, because it is about going, like you said, Paul, the roller coaster of go to the well, recover, I'm going the wrong way, go to the well, go to, and just waving it. That's what we do in sessions. That's what reps are. You do a rep, you recover, you do a rep, you recover. It's all based around that. So yeah, good luck.
Yeah, and good luck. And just remember also to time your drinks. So if you do have the opportunity, say there's a drink station approaching the top of the hill as Tomo takes a drink, then you could just take the bottle or take on the fluid and maybe carry it over the top of the hill and just drink it then on an easier pipe where it's easier to take it on board, because it's much easier to drink a drink and to digest it and get it into you if it's on a gradual downhill rather than a steep downhill, or certainly when you're working hard going uphill, it's pretty hard to get those fluids and fuel into you.
Okay, so hi Paula and Tomo, love listening to podcasts, and was lovely to meet you, Paula, at the Great North Run. I'm looking for some advice. I've recently just completed Berlin Marathon last week, but unfortunately fell quite short of my sub 4 hour time goal. My current PB is 4 hours 12 from Chicago last year, and I really thought I'd built up the fitness. Both my Chorus watch and Strava said I could get sub 4 to achieve the goal. But due to the heat on the day, I think I panicked with an extremely high heart rate of 190, so decided the best thing to do was just to make it to the end. I finished the race in a time of 4 hours 42, half an hour slower than my PB and 42 minutes away from sub 4. I was heartbroken, but I appreciate lots of people had a bad day in Berlin. My question is what to do next. I keep chasing the sub 4 and try to get another marathon in before the end of the year while the fitness is there, or do I rest up, take it on the chin and try it again with another marathon rolls around? I have nothing in the pipeline apart from eyeing up a potential ultra for May next year and maybe New York in 2026. I have 3 out of the 6 stars now: London, Chicago, and now Berlin. For reference, I'm 27 years old and started running when I got into London Marathon 2023, and have been consistent 3-4 times a week plus gym sessions since then. Thank you for advice. P.S. I could run a local run community. I run a local. Sorry. Okay.
I co-run, is it? Yeah,
PS,
yeah, co-run.
I thought it was P.S. I co-run a local run community in Dunfermline, Fife, Scotland called United by Miles, and we'd love to welcome you along anytime if you're ever in the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Love an offer of a run.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think first and foremost, Ellie, you're not going to lose that fitness that your watch told you, that Strava had said, all of the work that you'd put in, that's banked there. So no matter whether you take a good break now, which would be my advice, and recover from that, because if your heart rate was high, your body was struggling in Berlin, probably due to the heat, and you did absolutely the right thing, slowing down, getting it finished relatively. That is worth a faster time, and effectively even the training effect of that race is worth quicker. So my advice would be to take the time to recover, pick another target and build up towards that. the advantage being that picking another one is likely to be cooler now moving forward. I mean, if you're looking into kind of end of the year, probably into January, February, March time, maybe even into April, they will likely be cooler races. So you won't need to worry about the heat. It gives you time to focus on those. You've got an ultra coming up in May. So yeah, my advice would be look for maybe another one kind of January, February, maybe even March time, and you can use that as a build up for the ultra. But given the stress of the good quality training that you put in and high heart rates and still getting in the marathon done, and congratulations on getting it ticked off, I would take the time to recover and then start building back up again.
I think it's very important. It always comes back to what are you trying to get out of running a marathon, and because you have a very much a performance goal in mind, that comes with respecting the process to do that. And I think, as Paul is saying, taking the time to recover, regroup, and go again, because I've been in this situation before where myself personally and people I've advised of that temptation of all that training to want to just go out and just redo it. But that's where the marathon is so great. When you're trying to achieve something, what makes it so great is the fact you shouldn't just go out and just try it again, because you have to take a step back and re-go it, and that process around it and the difficulty and the challenge around it is what makes it so great when you will do it. So yeah, please take a step back, I would say as well, and re-go and replan and re-go, and you will do it, and it all will make sense in the end. I'm always a bit nervous when you get online predictions around what you can run. I'm not against them, it's just I personally would never advise someone to base a race plan around it and how you structure things and how you go into it. Very much use your own gut instincts and how things have gone for you personally to gauge how you should go about. Not saying you can't do those aims, it's just how you should structure and your belief and where you should set your stall out going into it, I think is far more powerful than something that doesn't know you personally and your personal day-to-day journey of what's going on in your life. So that would be my advice.
And I think, that's a really strong point, because I do think too many times, particularly with the marathon, because it is like times are important and times are big, we tend to always look to the times, whereas actually looking as a whole at the race and thinking, what were the conditions, what kind of course was it, how did I feel on the day, did I come through some mental difficulties, did I have some upsets, was I sick, did something go wrong in the build-up. All of those things factor in whether it was a good marathon or not. It's not just about personal bests. Sometimes you cannot run a personal best, but you can have run an equivalent, if you like, because you handled so much stuff in terms of the conditions, what happened on the day, the course. And so you need to be able to give yourself a pat on the back for that and still kind of go into the time off. It's a bit like anyone who raced in the World Championships in Tokyo. They were unlikely to come out of that marathon. In fact, I don't think anybody came out of it with a personal best. Julia actually did come pretty close.
I was going to say Julia did, but that's for different reasons.
She was the exception, and it was worth a hell of a lot more. So I think those people don't come away and think, oh, I wasn't near my PB. They think I handled those conditions. I did well. I got the best out of myself on the day. We also need to kind of take a step back and look at that. Whatever level we're running a marathon at, did I get the best out of myself on the day? Do I deserve to have a good break and build up for the next one? Yes, you do. So kind of put that context on it and move forward. And I think on that note, that is about all that we've probably got time for this week. With this shakeout. So just a reminder, please do keep sending in the questions. That WhatsApp number is +44 7564 747 914. The email address is paulasrunclub@momentumbroadcast.co.uk. You can get in touch on socials as well. You can send in the questions on YouTube. Any way you want to get them to us, we will answer those questions. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been a Momentum Broadcast production. And remember that this weekly Shakeout is sponsored by HIGH5. You can head to high5.co.uk. Use the code Paula in capitals 25 to be able to get a 25% discount off those products. And basically they've got you covered, haven't they, Tomo? Anything from 5K to marathon, electrolytes to energy gels.
Anything from stepping out the door all the way.
And stay
all the
hydrated.
way through. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the weekly Shakeout from Paula's Run Club this week. This has been a lot of fun, and we'll catch you next week. Remember, this Shakeout drops on a Thursday, main pod on a Monday. Bye, Tomo.
Yeah, please do keep your questions coming in, and just was I meant to say anything? Have I done the other thing where I wasn't meant to say something and I did?
No, you were meant to say bye. Yeah, you were meant to say bye.
Oh, just bye. Okay.
Well,
bye.
no, yeah. What are you doing? To say bye.
Just bye. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for listening.